Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak again. I have a lot to cover in this video, so let's get on with it. First thing I want to do is tell you about Greater Chicago Cichlid Association. It's Chicagoland's largest tropical fish swap meet they have, and it's December 3rd from 10 to 1 p.m. on Sunday. For those of you who live in the Chicagoland area, suburbs of Chicago, it is really a great swap meet in case you've never been. And if you're watching this and you never knew about it, it's located at the Hilton Hotel in Northbrook. That's 2855 Milwaukee Avenue, Northbrook, Illinois. Admission is $5, but if you want early admission, it's $10. Usually at the show, when you go, everybody wants to get in early. Plus the money goes to the club itself. It really is a real nice swap meet. You can get some great fish at great prices. You have to keep going because some weeks or some, what should I say, some months that they have it are better than others. It just depends on what the hobbyist is bringing in for sale. But it's a great show. In case you live in the Chicagoland area, I thought I'd bring that up. That definitely, if you've never been, if you're new to the hobby, prices are wonderful. I also got a couple more letters here that I would like to bring up. Now, here's something that was brought up. It says, I recently purchased a bag of Labarock for about $6 with discount for 2 pounds, about the same color as kitty litter. I have pictures of it. You can see it. I wanted to use them cosmetically in my tank, and I found that interesting that they speak about the positive and negative charges of being a magnet, etc. Just as you spoke about, and I learned from your videos about the clay and kitty litter. It appears to me that it's okay to put it in my tank, but wanted to get your input in case there is something I'm missing about this product that could harm my fish. The product that you're looking at, she says I've attached pictures of the product. The product you're looking at is basically zeolite, which is sold for aquariums. That's basically what it is. And yes, you can use it in your aquariums. It's something that also is used for humans. So it should present no problems. Again, I just add to what I'm trying to achieve cosmetically, and since it's saying it has some anoxy-filtration lingo, perhaps it would be beneficial to add to my tank. And yeah, they're absolutely right. It will act the same. Zeolite acts the same as kitty litter. Except here, I don't know where she's from, but here in the United States, of course, zeolite is kind of expensive. And zeolite is used as a kitty litter in other countries. Thailand, United Kingdom, stuff like that, which can be used as a substitute for oil dry or kitty litter in case you're out there and you have the availability of this product that she's showing me. So if you find it, it looks like it would be okay. I don't know how expensive it is. I always think of expense. Maybe I shouldn't, but I always do because I know we hobbyists, we're trying to save money. Let's face facts. We're all trying to save money, and that is one way of saving money. Anyhow, yes, the product looks like it would be good. I thought I would answer it to everybody because zeolite seems to be a product that comes up a lot. I can't find kitty litter. Go with it. There's another thing I wanted to read you that I got an email. It's long from Josh. Josh is from the United Kingdom, London, in fact. Greetings from London, United Kingdom. First, thank you very much for your time and energy you have to put into your videos on the anoxy filtration. not to mention all the background work behind them. Let's see, a lot of what you say brings back memories of aquarium biochemistry course by mail I took as a kid in the early 80s. Let's see, lots of deep gravel and slow under gravel filters then. He was right. That's how it was. It's refreshing to see a science that has been widely forgotten. At least I forgot much about it. Make a reappearance, and that's what I try to do here. It was something that it should have never left the hobby, but apparently it did because I believe it was just misused. There could be more to it than just misuse. It could be that the powers that be decided that it's cheaper just to take a substrate and throw it at the bottom of your aquarium and end the whole thing of plenums or under gravel filters, which an under gravel filter is just a filter plate with a plenum that's about a ½ inch off the bottom of the aquarium, allowing fluids to move. So anyway, let's see, he states, I'm planning to tear down a 70-gallon aquarium, 42 by 16 by 24 tank, and set it up with a plenum based on what I have learned from your videos. Let's see, I have a few questions, and if you have any comments on that would be great. Or other of these could just be things to put into a pot of potential future videos. Well, I thought, this email was interesting, so that's why I'm reading it to you, so you can see what other people are thinking across the pond. The tap water here already has high nitrates. Yeah, I know that. It's 40 parts per million using a HANA test kit. And phosphates are 5 parts per million. Once again, using the HANA test kits. Is there anything that you would suggest you change your UZ tank setup recommended based on that with the high nitrates already? Definitely, I know the United Kingdom has high nitrates and phosphates. I personally don't know how they get by with such high nitrates and phosphates, but apparently, I guess the regulations over there are a little different than over here. They have some high nitrates and that high phosphate. Definitely, I would use a phosphate absorbing pads with phosphates because that's going to be what's going to cause most of your algae problems is high phosphates. Try to bring those phosphates down as much as possible. As I've shown on my videos, phosphate pads you can buy off of Amazon. They're relatively cheap. I put them in my aquariums trying to get the phosphates as low as humanly possible because that is what's going to trigger your algae is the high phosphates. Plus fertilizer. I think everybody knows that. Adding a lot. That's another thing I want to talk about is here's a problem that I run into and always get questions about is fertilizer. I've added fertilizer to my aquarium and whatever brand, I don't care. I'm not going to mention a brand here. And they say, well, I've added it to my aquarium and I have lots of plants all over my aquarium and I'm getting a lot of algae. Fertilizers, when you start adding them to your aquarium, everybody wants you to buy their fertilizer because it's another product that you're buying. The trouble is with fertilizer to get everybody in the real big problems is, are your plants running at 100% photosynthesis? Are they bubbling? Are they purling? Are you using CO2 at the right amount? Because if they aren't working 100%, they may not be able to utilize the fertilizer you're putting in the aquarium. That's the biggest mistake I see all the time. Really, I'm just being honest with you. People adding fertilizer to aquarium that really could do without it. And they always add it because they think, my plants aren't growing that good. I want them to grow better, so I'm going to add fertilizer. I think maybe they get confused with terrestrial plants compared to aquatic plants because, terrestrial plants have plenty of light so they can utilize the fertilizers you're putting in the ground. Unfortunately, our terrestrial plants, with the lights we give them, they just don't have that much light or enough CO2 in the aquarium. So, in order to make that optimal aquarium, we always think adding more fertilizer, but we don't realize that you must bring your CO2 up as another fertilizer to that aquarium. Otherwise, algae is going to be the culprit that's going to take over. And one person made mention to me that they have their tank 100% with plants in it. Unfortunately, they started using fertilizers, and now their whole tank is all messed up with algae. And that's what usually happens. It takes very little nutrients to get algae started. And one of the nutrients, as we all know, is nitrates and phosphates. You need to get those phosphates out of the whole picture, because you can get by with nitrates. Let's say you have 20 parts per million or something, and you won't have an algae problem because your phosphates may be down to 0.01 or 5. That's very, very low, and that is going to determine those, plant growth and algae growth, is that phosphate. I haven't seen the phosphates really bother the plants, even at very low, as long as it's getting some of that phosphates. But just remember that if you're going to use fertilizers, is your aquarium running optimally? Are you having pearling of your plants? Are you using CO2? And is the light strong enough to have that correctly done? Because otherwise, those fertilizers, if they can't utilize them and they're sitting in your aquarium, you're going to end up with algae problems. Just remember that. Let's see. Then he states, I'm thinking of using fluorite sand as a substrate. I wonder if you're familiar with it, whether it might be too fine. My thinking is that it isn't worse than play sand, but I have no actual experience with it. Okay. I'm glad Josh asked me that question, because I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to read you something that was sent to me by a guy named Jim. And he just sent me this email, and this will kind of answer Josh's question. Dr. Novak, I just saw your latest video. Thanks so much for mentioning my aquarium. My last video had Jim's aquarium in it. One more note of my tank. Like you, I started out with play sand. Okay, started out with the sand. The sand, even with a plenum attached, was a mess. It created blackbeard algae and various other types of algae. Remember, I talked about the aquarium with the goldfish. After 2 years, I didn't like it. It was causing problems with the sand. And that's when I found out, when I tried to put my hand in the sand, that, wow, is this like tight? It's compact, like a sandbag. Let's see. It was set up for almost a year, and to see the algae phase would cycle. So he set up to see if the algae would go away. So he let it go for over a year. And he said all parameters were the same as now. Filtration was the same, water changes the same, lighting was not the ultra bright, but they used LEDs, which showed on your SAC tank years ago. Taking the sand out and replacing with 100% C-Chem fluorite red made all the difference in the world. Let's see, I'm 62 years old. I don't have much time for tank maintenance, and this is the lowest maintenance tank I have ever had in the 50 plus years I have been keeping aquariums. And of course, he says, I hope you and your family have a happy Thanksgiving. So this was just given to me. Jim, I'm glad he sent me this, because he had the same problems with sand, even using a plenum, that I have. This kind of relates to Josh's question. Should I use sand? Well, Josh, here's 2 people who've used sand, even with a plenum. It compact and caused us algae problems that we really didn't care for it. Now, since I've redone the goldfish aquarium, I could see that reversing itself. Even when I didn't clean off the rocks and plants and stuff and the piece of wood I have in there, even I could see it changing. I could see the whole tank progressing a lot different. My myself, I don't know. I think I just stay away from sand, Josh. If you can, stay away from sand. Get something a little bit bigger, like 3-4 millimeters. Usually like 2 millimeters on up to 4 millimeters of size. You go with something bigger, that would be better because the pore water and permeability of the substrate, allowing fluids to move through it, is all I'm saying. I know, I try not to step on any toes because I know a lot of people use sand. They love sand. It works for them. But I'm just saying maybe it's something you may want to stay away from because I have not been very successful just using sand. And as you see, that Jim has also not been successful using a aquarium with sand in it. So I think it just takes more time and maintenance and patience. Let's see, I have always had poor experience with mixing substrates as the coarser stuff always ends up on top, either due to fish rooting around, replanting, etc., etc. So despite the cost, I'm thinking of using all fluorite sand. I want to keep Corydorus, Rams, Discus, none of which I expect will like Sharpie standard fluorite. Also, my experience with keeping Discus with coarse, very fine substrate is that they do much better with something fine, and it helps a lot to keep bits of food from getting lost down into the substrate. Yeah, I've heard that where people have Discus and they prefer to have a fine sand. I'm just letting you know, Josh, that if you do use a fine sand, you could end up with a problem because of the fine sand. Just letting you know. Let's see. Here in the UK, at least, there are multiple types of oil dry available, or they go with zeolite. So that's what I've heard people were using. Maybe I have missed somewhere in the video somewhere, but do BCB bags need to be tightly packed? And that answer is no, they don't need to be tightly packed. You can put them in a basket, you can put them in a bag. I see that the ones you use make example for the Epsom filter look like they're tightly packed mesh bags. Well, that's only because I make them so big, and I've shown in one of my videos, I got the bags off of Amazon. The hole openings are big enough to allow fluids to flow, but not allowing the kitty litter to come out. They're naturally just going to become tightly packed. Okay, that's just the way it's going to look. But you can clean them out, and if that's what you mean, because it's going to pack down, but it doesn't seem to ever pack down as bad as like sand would pack down. So, Josh, that's something that just it does. But it seems like the pore water and permeability of the kitty litter or the zeolite remains better than if you're using a fine sand. Because, Josh, as I did my video before, right, sand, let's think about it. What do they make sandbags out of? Sand. What do they use for? To hold back water. Because once they get wet, then everything through sand slows down tremendously. So that's what you have to think of. So when you use a substrate that's a little bit larger in sand, you'll have better fluids moving through the substrate for your plants and everything else. I don't know what's exactly available there in the United Kingdom, but you'll have to look around. They're there is stuff in use. That's what I can say, because I know a lot of people have made ponds and have found a substitute like we have in the United States. So all I can say is you'll have to kind of do your homework, or buy, as I just read to you of Jim, where he bought the C-Chem, but you may have to get something small, a little bit larger in millimeter diameter. So I hope that that kind of helps everybody in this video. I kind of went through a few things that people ran into, problems that they ran into. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, here was another comment I'll just read this to you. Somebody who sent me an email. I wish I had known about the plenum system 20 years ago. It really would have saved me a lot of work and maintenance. I also cannot say enough on how great the GE Ultra Bright bulbs are. I have videos on that. The Ultra Bright bulbs they are better than professional lights, in my opinion. I have to harvest and cut down my plants weekly. Phenomenal growth. And the plants he's cutting down is his Val that he cuts down because they're growing so much using the plenum and the ultra bright light bulbs. Like I said, the ultra brights, I've seen them as bright as 600 watt, equivalent 600 watts, which puts out about 6,000 lux. That's quite bright. Like I said, it goes 6,000, 4,000, and on down from that. And if you have a pendant or two of 6,000 lux, that's 12,000 lux going into your aquarium. That's more than if you had a 4-foot aquarium and you put like 2 or 3 of those on. That's a lot of light, you know, if you're a plant grower and are using some CO2 to really excel your plant. But anyway, just remember that about if you plan on using fertilizers, okay? A lot of people get in trouble with fertilizers because their plants are not photosynthesizing enough to utilize the fertilizer. So where does all that extra fertilizer go? You tell me, okay? Algae. So until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Happy fish keeping, and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching.